What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. So, in this episode, we've got something a little interesting. I'm going to keep it focused, really more so on NFL news and what's going on through the NFL ecosystem. And so, really, to start, we have some interesting stories. First off, we've got a little bit of Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk's a wide receiver currently for the San Francisco 49ers. However, it's likely that he could be traded or cut from the team. That remains to be seen. And in addition, we're going to go over a little bit of Dianna Russini. Obviously, she's dominated the news. She was a former reporter with the Athletic and other, sports reporting agencies, and she had a relationship while married with an NFL coach who was also married, and that has caused a lot of NFL scandal throughout the NFL universe. So, first things first, when we're dealing with a guy like Brandon Aiyuk, it's actually kind of sad. And I think what's going to best illustrate it is just to show you, kind of the crash out that Brandon Aiyuk is having on social media and different things. He's been a really good NFL player. He actually was an all pro for quite a while, and he was fantastic in college as well. But he had a falling out after he signed a contract with the 49ers a year ago. They're not even on speaking terms with each other at this time. And so, now that they're not on speaking terms with each other, Brandon Aiyuk, in order to force a trade or force his own release, is taken to social media. And it's actually become quite scandalous, I would say. So let's go ahead and watch the first video.
And if I'm crazy or if I'm capping, so them boys cut me today. And I'll sign with the Commanders tomorrow. And we'll see who capping. And if I'm crazy or if I'm capping,
I'll show you guys the next video as well.
Also, I do not have an agent. I terminated my SRA with my previous agent through the NFLPA last year in November. Also,
and we have one more video. Oh, this is my favorite one, actually. So we're just chilling. That's my kind of music. So, yeah, after you sign a $60 million contract, you're definitely going to have enough money to throw that on the floor. Because as I watched that video, I was like, man, I think he threw enough money on the floor that this would pay for my student loans, quite frankly. But no, as we can quite frankly see, I think Brandon Aiyuk is going through some, mental struggles, maybe with the stress of being, the front and center of the headlines and, dominating the NFL media, quite frankly, this offseason. And clearly he wants a trade. He's made it very clear on social media, and he's acting out and, inciting the team to trade him, quite frankly. However, Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk has actually made some very interesting points that Brandon Aiyuk should actually just try to show up at the facility and just be like, hey, I'm here to play, put me in the game. And they're going to know that he's not trained to actually play in football games. Like, his muscles aren't ready to do that. And he faces a significant injury risk if he was to play immediately. And the NFL teams are not actually allowed to keep him out despite this, acting out that he has. There was actually a case involving Steve McNair of the Tennessee Titans, rest in peace, Steve McNair, years ago. And, when the Titans were trying to keep him out of the facility because they were going to facilitate a trade with the Baltimore Ravens, the NFLPA got involved, and there was a rule that was handed down that NFL teams cannot exclude their currently signed players. So Brandon Aiyuk, I think Mike Florio makes a fantastic point on that. And, you can get on social media and you can throw all this money on the ground that, quite frankly, it's tough not to be envious, right, of having all that money to throw on the ground, even though the closet's empty, which is quite frankly pretty odd. But, I guess the moral lesson to be drawn from this as well is just like, try to do your work. And also, I don't know if you guys heard in that second video, he clearly says he hasn't got an agent. So if you don't have an agent and you're not in communication with the team, like, what's the long-term plan? Did he just sign this contract and think it's all over? He can now just make this money and sit back. I mean, I guess it's enough money to, retire yourself and your family. But, if you want to play football again, Either you're going to have to make contact with the team as an unsigned or, not having an agent, or you need to sign an agent who can facilitate contact with the team in order to get, your desires handled. So Brandon Aiyuk, you're not doing a very good job with how you're handling all of your different, NFL issues right now. So let's go ahead and move on actually to the next story, which is going to be Miss Dianna Russini. So Miss Russini, or Dianna Russini, she had an inappropriate relationship as a reporter with an NFL coach. And quite frankly, the problem, with being an NFL reporter and being, involved in an inappropriate relationship with the coach is it presents an obvious conflict of interest. Dianna Russini made almost $1 million a year. And when you make almost $1 million a year, hey, there's a huge incentive to keep that role, right? Like, I'd love to be making $1 million a year. So clearly she wants to keep a job that gives her about that money. And, one of the ways that you keep a job as a reporter like that is to report on juicy material to the media, right? And to say, hey, I'm hearing through the grapevine that X rumors happening with Y team. And clearly she's able to facilitate these types of contacts. And one of the interesting things comes from this tweet, John Frashella, according to X. But according to an article actually written by the New York Times, she was pulled over during a traffic stop, or a cop had pulled her over. And in order to get out of the ticket, she said, hey, cop, do you have a favorite NFL team? And he said, yeah. And so she said, well, I might know the coach. And so she actually phoned the coach and was able to get in contact with him. And, that's obviously a huge, obviously, it's quite frankly corrupt. You're using your access to privilege and wealth and things of that nature in order to get yourself out of traffic violation. So not a good look for, Dianna Russini, I think, with respect. I don't want to be too judgy, right? I mean, I don't even know if I've lived enough life, quite frankly, to be telling who how to live and should do what. But, I'll say this. It's been tough on her reporting career with the Mike Vrabel allegations, and obviously being pulled over and hearing this story from the New York Times and the traffic ticket is also pretty scandalous, quite frankly. But whoever the cop wrote her the ticket, I hope it was a nice NFL FaceTime and you're able to maybe get in contact with the coach again, right? But no, other than that, shoot, I think that's all really. I mean, we got a couple other NFL news stories going on, but, look, it's June 26th. These guys are all on vacation at this time. Nobody in the NFL, nothing really is going on in the NFL right now. So, when we got stories like Brandon Aiyuk and Dianna Russini that dominate the landscape, that obviously reveals not much going on to report about. So, I just wanted to jump on, provide my thoughts, give some legal opinion, right? That, hey, Brandon Aiyuk, get a lawyer, get an agent, negotiate with the team. And quite frankly, see what the NFLPA can do for you. If the NFLPA can come in and, hey, see what they can work out and, say that the 49ers are treating you wrong and things of that nature, I think, that should be a move that the NFLPA should make, and maybe Brandon Aiyuk should push on that. However, without representation, what are you going to do? And I think that's a lesson, quite frankly, for anybody watching this video, is you can be worth $60 million and throwing money on the ground and still look like a moron and an idiot by not having representation. So take that little nugget for what you will. And I'll just put it to you like this. If you're in a position that you have access to privileged information, such as Dianna Russini, make sure you respect that and don't jeopardize your position by having inappropriate relationships, because that definitely gets a lot of people, doesn't it? And I swear, I've been watching that my entire life, seeing whether it's politician or actor, actress, you name it, go down because some relationship. And on one hand, Mike Vrabel, he's gotten off of this scot-free, interestingly enough, and people say, oh, well, there's no ethics involved. And it's like, really? I mean, he's a married guy, like, you're supposed to be loyal, right? I mean, he was a former Titans coach, so maybe I'm biased because they had a pretty bad falling out, and I was pretty ready for him to leave Tennessee at the time he left anyway. And a lot of people think I'm dumb for that because, he did lead the Patriots to the Super Bowl, quite frankly, 2 years later. So maybe those critics are right, quite frankly. But that's all I got for today. If you have any other interesting comments, or interesting NFL stories, I would love to read it. And until next time, thank you very much.